Welcome to the Duncan Equine Group instructional video on how to run our rail. So in this video we'll show you how to run the rail from start to finish. The posts will already be in the ground here, and because we're using steel we're using a non-welding option called riv nuts. So they'll already be done for our attaching buckles and corners. So if you're interested in those, skip back a few videos. So we're looking at a 150 high fence, 3 rail, using all our products. So we've got steel end assemblies which have been painted black, plastic line posts which here we're using 2.4s. We've got our gates and obviously our rail as well. So first thing you're going to want to do is pop your rolls of rail on your spinner. Best way to go about this is take the external plastic off the rolls of rail and leave the black tape on. Pop them on your spinner, then take the black tape off and then run your rail out, getting ready for those attaching buckles. So here Craig's just assembling the ends of the rail onto the attaching buckles, but we'll show you a bit of a slowed down version so you can see exactly how it goes. So here we can see Simon slots the rail through that first slot of the attaching buckle and uses what we call a bending tool. They're great, but you don't have to have one, you can just use your hands here. So basically bend that bit of the end of the rail and then press it down again with your hands just to get a nice bend to it, and then pop it through the second slot of the rail. You'll see when he turns it around it makes a nice flat side. So this is what gets attached onto the post, and there's just no sharp edges or bits that horses can get caught on here. You'll also see there's a little bit of a bow that sticks out, which actually goes away once the fence tightens, so don't worry about that. So then once we've attached the attaching buckle to the rail, we then need to attach it to the post. So in timber we use coach screws, but here we're using steel, so we're using a 50mm purlin bolt because we're going into riv nuts that have already been done. So that's our non-welding option. If you're keen on learning about those, skip back a few videos. So here we need to be careful that we don't over tighten the purlin bolt. Same goes with the coach screw. If we over tighten them, it can actually crack the plastic in the bracket. So basically do it tight enough so that the bracket's not loose and wiggling around. It just sort of sits there firmly but doesn't feel like it can't move at all. Once we've attached our attaching buckles, we're going to want to run our rail. So the best way to do this is to set your brackets out and then screw the top screw in. So leave the bottom screw free, and then basically we slide the rail up in the bracket, and then I find using our thumbs is easiest to fold the rail in half and click it in. So you're gonna want to have your brackets up the way the writing should read. So if the writing reads upside down, your brackets are up upside down. So as you can see here, that little bit's being bent over and the rail's being flicked in. Quickest way to do this is with 3 people. You can do it by yourself, that's fine. So basically, as you can see here, we've got a driver, someone clicking the rail in, and someone tech screwing behind. So here we've hit a corner. So basically we've run our rail down the long side, and we're going to use these things called side 90s, which are made out of steel, obviously because they need to be stronger for our corner. You also see here that our strainer posts are a little bit higher than the line posts, and this is purely to fit those side 90s on. We'll explain this in another video called steel corners. Timber doesn't have the same issue. So basically our riv nuts are already done. We're just using another 50mm purlin bolt, pop this bolt through the top of the side 90, and then we're going to slip the rail through the bottom, then put another purlin bolt in. side 90s onto our post. We're going to then continue running our rail until we reach termination point or we get to the end of the roll. So basically here we've gotten to the end of the roll and we've swapped back up to the top rail, but it's the same principle. And we're going to attach one length of rail to the other. So you can use a bending tool or you can use your hands. So basically we're going to bend both ends of the rail. Then we'll grab our joining buckle and join these two ends of the rail together. So the joining buckle quite often is put on backwards, and I'll include a little photo in here for you. But basically the principle of it is you can't see it, and it's also safe for the horse. So it's a flat surface, there's nothing for them to get caught on. So the trickiest part I find of the joining buckle is inserting both these two pieces of the rail into the middle slot of the joining buckle. So basically once that's done, then you pop it back around out the other side and then pop that little tab through the outside slit of the joining buckle. So then once that's in, we're just going to give it a bit of a pull, and you'll see on the outside there might still be little tabs of rail that's just sticking through slightly, but don't worry about this. Same with the attaching buckles. Once the fence is tensioned up, this will sit in really nice and tight. So I've added another video in of Simon doing the joining buckles, just a little bit slowed down because they can be a little bit tricky. But if you're all good with the joining buckles, just skip on to the next part. So then we'll just continue to run our rail until we reach termination point. So then as we're going along our fence line, just keep pulling up the slack so that when we reach our termination point, we can just give it a nice pull and we've got a nice amount of rail at the end. So basically we just use an angle grinder and to cut the rail. So if you've got a bending tool, look at the line that your coach screw or purlin bolts are going to go in for your attaching buckles and give yourself another inch past this. If you're using your hands, give yourself a little bit more because the bending tool gives you that perfect amount. With your hands, you just need a little bit more rail to play with. So then we do the same thing as what we started with, is just bending that rail and popping it into the attaching buckles. So then we either use a coach screw for timber or the purlin bolt for steel, and then we pop those attaching buckles on. So as you can see, Simon's pulled this up and the attaching buckle is sitting slightly behind that purlin bolt, which is better to be safe than sorry and end up with it in front of it and then having to put a joining buckle in to give yourself a bit more rail. So general rule of thumb with these tensioners is one tensioner every 200 metres or every 2 corners. If we've done a map for you, we'll pop on there where they should go, and if we haven't, give us a call and we can help you through it if you get stuck. Basically, what the best way to do is to get these in a line, or sometimes you can do them on a little diagonal, which is not, you don't have to be as accurate. But basically, as you can see, what Craig's done here is he's pulled the slack out of the 3 rails and popped them on the same line. So then we're going to grab the ratchet and handle, and these can be purchased through us and they're worth every cent. So you can tension the fence like Craig is, or you can have someone helping you popping a pin in the back. So what you want to have handy is 1 pin with you, because that's what's going to hold the back of the rail as we're tensioning it up. So basically we put the handle on, and then we pull around to the other side of the rail as far as we can go, and then we're going to put a pin in the back of the tensioner, so it's going to hold that back rail in. And then we're going to bring the handle back around and then pull up the slack. So with the rail, you want to have it as tight as you physically can. So you want to feel like you can hip and shoulder it, and the fence is going to be there to support you. So when we can't do any more on our tensioner, we're going to pop a pin at the front, so on that front section of rail as well. So you've got 2 pins in the tensioner. And then what you should do is then go around your fence and just check you're happy with it everywhere. And if not, go up another notch or 2 on your tensioner. I hope you enjoyed watching how to install our rail. If you've got any questions, want to know more, or purchase any of our products, please contact any one of our team members, as we're all happy to help.